Hey, it's Captain Chris Myers, Central Florida Sight Fishing Charters, with my video fishing report for January 2nd, 2013. We just got done with a trip today. We fished both the Mosquito Lagoon and the Indian River. We found big black drum, big redfish in both sides, and the reason we could see them today is because we had calm winds and clear skies. Now it looks like for the next few days, the storm front's coming through. You're going to have a lot of wind, some clouds. It's going to be a lot harder to see these fish, and the temperature is going to drop. So if you're going to be out here fishing for the rest of the weekend on one of those windy days, you're probably going to be doing a lot of blind casting if it's cloudy. If you're going to be doing that, what I recommend is you get a 5.5 inch DOA cal, and you take a Woody's rattle and you stick it in the back of it right here, and that way you'll get sound. And I use a weighted worm hook. It helps me make a longer cast and let that bait dive down deep. These fish are hanging along the edges of the flats or just inside the flat where you get areas of sand and grass together. If you find a lot of fish that are hanging out just over the sand, what I'd recommend is going to this little 3-inch with a jig head and let that thing bounce along the bottom. You can't beat this lure for fish over the sand, but it's hard to fish over the grass unless you're used to keeping it up out of that grass because it has an exposed hook. This thing is great for the trout as well. You'll find some trout if you can find mullet schools, especially around the spoil islands. You can fish in between the channel and the spoil islands. There should be some trout hanging out there. And if you get up shallower just behind the islands, again, I go back to this bait and I target those shallow sand holes behind those islands. You can tuck in there out of the wind. So that's what I'd be looking for the rest of this week. It's going to be little poor conditions for sight fishing. But if you do see some redfish, both of these lures will catch them just as good as it will the trout. So go stick with your plastics and you cast them a long way. You cast them into the wind. That natural shrimp is going to come flying off the hook when you got to cast it hard. So this is Captain Chris Myers of Central Florida Sight Fishing Charters, www.floridafishinglessons.com.